All right, so fourth quality, remember? We're on to number 4, investigation of emotional intimacy. Fourth quality. What does investigation refer to? Let's jump back to the major emotional event of today. So, in investigation, I want you to rewind the tape. This is part of your meditation right now. Rewind the tape, not remembering how you felt, but go ahead and rewind the tape, and let's do this together. I mean, close your eyes for a second, rewind the tape, go back to that emotional experience. Right? The events surrounding it, the circumstances, and maybe even get that emotion going to whatever degree you can. We want to be mindful of it. Kind of recreate that. The most intense experience of the day, please, to the best of your ability. Just get it going for a minute or so. You're doing great. All right, now back to our initial mindfulness. What happens to your breath? With this emotion, we're not doing any blame game, who's responsible, we're only saying what happens when I feel this right now. What happens to my breath? Please note, and I mean mentally note. Take some notes mentally, don't write them down, because we have more to do. Before you start writing, you will lose the session if you do. Please do not write down just yet. Just notice, recognize the length of your breath. Is it above the solar plexus, below? Is it in the throat? Is it breath holding? Just feel, somatic. The length of the breath. You got this. Temperature, please. Temperate, cool, warm, hot. How would you, temperature, please, just notice. If you need to get the emotion going again, to be sure, feel free to do so. Please don't take notes just yet. We've got more to do. Just lengthen temperature, and also, please, the texture. Just notice, recognize what's good. Is it coarse? Is it rough, choppy, smooth, fine? How would you describe the texture? The texture of the experience, please. Nice and still, just with recognition. That's all we're doing is recognition right now, and an allowance for it to be there. Not trying to get out of it. We're bringing it all together now. Mindfulness of breathing, mindfulness of body, and mindfulness of emotional states. Really an aware person. You're an aware being now. Okay. Now bodily, when you feel this emotion right now, if you need to rekindle that emotion, go ahead and rekindle the emotion, get it going a little bit. Bodily tension, where do you feel it, if any? I want you to become somatically intelligent. Not just emotionally intelligent, but somatically intelligent. Somatically aware. No stories, please. Just where do you feel tension? And then not just bodily tension, which could be trapezius, shoulders, chest. Just feel, please. But also in the cranium. How does it feel in there? In terms of bodily tension, does it feel loose and spacious inside your head? Any facial changes? Please don't try to change anything, okay? It's very important that you not try to relax right now. You not try to change or resist. This is all part of allowance and acceptance. Recognition and allowance, please. Even though it may be uncomfortable. This is just the witnessing place. How your body feels and how it feels inside your cranium. And facial changes, any tension, maybe jaw, temples, furrow of the brow. So what you're aware of right now is how the emotions and the physiology, the breath and your body, how they all are working together right now, how they're influencing each other. And there's no blame. You're not blaming yourself, not blaming anybody. You're just recognition and acceptance. And now the noting part. Please write down your experience. So first breath, what do you remember? To the best of your ability, no right and wrong. Please write down what happens. When that emotion was felt, then this is what happened to my breath. Now, for those of you who don't forget, it's kind of fun, right? It's like, for those of you who said other people are responsible for your emotions, I guess they'd be responsible for your breath and your bodily sensations as well. So basically, you're just a puppet. Yeah. So, other people control me. It's weird. Who knew you could have this much fun with destructive emotional states, right? So you can see, like when we do counseling and therapy, it's probably pretty different, right? What am I not asking you about? And so far in our counseling session, if you're a client of mine, I am not asking you about what? The story. I'm not asking you about what? Your childhood. I'm asking you which medications you're on. I'm not doing family history as our first session. You see this? It's almost like you won't be seeing me for very long. I'm trying to make America great again. Or at least less emotional. All right. Make America less emotional. How about that? The acronym is what? MAIL. Make America less emotional. You just breathe that in right now. Just recognize and accept it, right? That's the new hat. Can you imagine everyone in our country is doing this? What would our country look like? Seriously. What would happen to you think about all the violence. What would happen to everybody's doing this? What if we just taught this to every child? And within 30 years, if we get the adults, we just say, hey, we try, right? But we got the kids. Let's just imagine we're doing this in all the schools. You got that? And everyone's getting trained in this. Could you imagine? Well, you can, because actually we're doing it. Not in all the schools, but we got some of the districts, and we are training like this. And you can be part of that. And in fact, that's why I want you to be teachers. I mean, that's one of the things I would like you to do, is be able to do all of this stuff and be confident that you've done it yourself. Right, you don't just say you're a mindfulness teacher, and we don't want you going out there selling this. We want you, just like you received it, we want you receiving this by donation. That's how you can do it too. Okay, that's our transmission. We don't sell the truth. We don't sell reality. Okay, and if you want a certificate, fine, we're happy to give you one. Okay, you're certified in reality. Okay. No $3,500. We're not doing MBSR. We're just like going, hey, we just want people to stop what? Yeah. Okay, now, you take a look at what you wrote down. Now, if you were to do that, or we were to write that description for every emotion you had today, I want you to get the scale of what we mean by suffering. And like what we're working on is freedom from that scale. I mean, look at all this. I mean, how many breath changes, right? And how much physical tension and how much facial tension are we talking about in one day? That's just today. And that was just one emotion, right? And you did this. Now, on top of it, the psychophysiology of all this, if you don't know it, you need to know what happens. And you are producing, you are secreting right now. When these heavy-duty emotions are going on, the amygdala, you have two of them, a walnut-sized organ on either side of your brain hemisphere. They are activated. They are inflamed, and they govern the hypothalamus, which is what is secreting all of your stress hormones. That is the control mechanism. So when the amygdala is going off, literally we call it an amygdala hijack. Please repeat, amygdala hijack. So it's amygdala is what? AM Y-G-D-A-L-A. Hijack. And that is literally the technical term that we use these days. Because what is being hijacked is your ability to reason. That's why we call it that. Your prefrontal cortex, when the amygdala is activated, your anterior prefrontal cortex, which is your ability to reason, goes offline. You're in fight and flight mode. Fight, flight, freeze, and sexual fantasy have that in common. Your ability to reason, you like that? You see how I put all, I just put all four of those together real fight, flight, freeze, and what? What happened to your ability to reason? Now, I'm not saying that you are always unreasonable. Well, actually, I am. Okay, in these events. Your ability to reason has gone offline. So, on top of that, think it through while we can, before these states actually happen to you. What is being secreted by the hypothalamus? You got your four primary stress hormones, plus some other things, but these are the big ones because they are the corollary, the major corollaries for most major cancers. High blood pressure, bone density loss in women. So I think hopefully I'm getting your attention right now. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about you hurting yourself. No blaming other people, but by you not being aware of this process, you are in fact harming your physiology. Not just your mental health, but your physical well-being. That's cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. Those are your four primary stress hormones. And depending on the intensity level of the emotional experiences, which is why I want you to track this stuff, depending on the intensity level, your blood and saliva it is literally just flowing through you. And depending on the intensity level, it's going to take that proportionally, that time, that length of time for that to leave your blood and saliva. So even if you leave that situation, you got that, and you had a high intensity level, you're going to continue feeling that, I think, as you all know. That tension and that stress, long after, depending on the intensity level. And they could go on for how long, as you wrote down. That's what I want you to see. And I ask you, who was responsible for your suffering? So right now, we haven't even gone into blame. So the investigation piece, did you guys get it? Breath. This is what we're investigating. When I feel that, when this emotion is felt, anger, this is what happens. This is the investigation. What happens to my what? And that is also recognized and accepted as part of emotional intimacy. Okay? That's just, hey, it's there. It's there. We are able to name it, like you just did, and we are investigating it, the physiological impact. When I feel this is how I feel. And the idea behind it is that you don't want to suffer because you're an intelligent human being. Your goal is actually to be happy, right? And this stuff is antithetical to your primary goal in life. I mean, you do not wake up in the morning, roll out of bed and say, I want to be miserable. I want to hurt myself. I want to have a stress-filled day. And right now you say, well, wouldn't it be, don't I just have to change environments, change relationships? Now, so I want you to think about this because we call this relationship or destination addiction, where you think, if you always blame other people, then you're going to always have to find just the right scenario to be in all the time. Okay? So where is that? Where's the right relationship, please? And you guys moved to Florida, a lot of you, right? And so when you came to Florida, you thought, well, this will be less stressful. And has that been your, Eric, has that been your experience?
Pretty much been there all my life.
Okay. You travel elsewhere to get away from the stress?
Yeah, go up to New York.
I go to New York to escape. Say it out loud, please. I go to New York to escape the stress of Florida. That is excellent. Yeah. I just wanted you to hear the insanity of these comments. Okay, out loud, and it's kind of fun, right?
I'm glad to be the crazy person.
Okay. Now, how many of you have realized that by changing relationships, you bring these patterns with you everywhere you go?
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. And when you change locations, you drive across country, you change this, you change that. You go on vacation. How's that vacation? You bring this stuff with you on vacation?
Yeah.
Once you get in the habit of blaming other people and events, it doesn't matter where you go. That's your habit. Blaming yourself, blaming others and events. We're trying to get you out of this habit. Emotional responsibility, please. It's a no-win situation for you. You're never responsible. It's always what? The guy at Delta. It's always someone else's fault. I'm not saying it isn't the guy at Delta.
Right.
I'm saying it's up to you to explore and investigate. Is that true? Right? Because it could be that you're right. It could be that it's always what? It's always John's fault. You know, whenever I fly, even when I'm not flying Delta, it's still what? Right. There's got to be some connection. Right? I mean, that. Yeah. You know.
That's why everyone sucks.
Right, which is the topic of tonight's class. Everybody sucks. Okay.
Out there.
Out there, independent of my mind. Okay, so now, with all of this stuff, I want you to get this right. So in Buddhism, we talk about it like this. I want you to admit that you have an arrow in your eye. It's called suffering. That there is this emotion, and there is this what? Emotional and physiological impact on you. Agreed? It's like having an arrow in your eye. All right. Now, how many of you at this point would like to have a second arrow? Now, not just two, but maybe 3 or 4 of them. Anybody, just raise your hand. Like, one sounds interesting, but I would like to have 2 or more. Please raise your hand. Okay. Now, here's how to give yourself a second arrow. The first arrow, we'll just call it the nature of what is present. Okay. That look. I'm not saying the emotion isn't there. In fact, we're not in any denial. We're just saying, actually, what? It's there. Okay? This it. We're saying the mental state is present, and that's an arrow. So make sure you write this down, please. Okay? This is one of those things you want to write down. That the emotion itself, this is called dukkha. There is suffering. There's emotion present, and there's breath changes, and there's bodily changes, and this is suffering. This is dukkha. It's there. We good?
Yep.
Okay. Now here's the second one. The second one is, and the third one, and the fourth one, and the fifth one is when you go into blame. All right, so then who's shooting those? First one is there, all right? First arrow's there, but now we have arrow 2, 3, and 4 is when you start adding what? Stories. All right, who's responsible? Who made me feel? What situation made me feel? And that's going to be all. You don't have to do that because we just taught you what? Emotional intimacy. You don't have to do that. You can just stop right there. You got that? You can just go, there's the emotion, and this is how I feel, and you can leave it. That is a choice. You can leave it right there and recognize, and I'll show you something, just a beautiful thing here in just a moment. But I just want you to see that, like, you can tell all the stories you want, but the emotion is what? It's already there. The stuff is already there. And so what does blaming do? When you blame, does it remove the first arrow is my question. When you say it's John's fault, right? Is the first arrow now removed when you blame someone? Well, it doesn't make it worse. It just makes it that's the second arrow. That's what I want you to get. I just want to know how many times but when you blame someone, like, it removed the first arrow. Well, that's excellent. That is an excellent aware response. That by blaming other people or events or yourself, those are the 3 arrows. Okay? Those are the 3 additional possibilities. Because some people say it's all of them. It's other people, it's me, and events. So there's 3. So now you have 4 arrows. You got that? That's why you see what the different arrows are. And now there's another one, which is my favorite one, the 5th arrow, which is you won't let go. Okay? I mean, you're just going to like, I got these arrows, and I'm going to what? I'm just going to ruminate. I'm going to walk around. I'm not letting this go. Okay? So we'll call that arrow number 4. Or that'll be arrow number what? 5. Right. Yeah. I'm just going to walk around. I'm not letting this go. I'm going to ruminate on this because rumination, in the history of ruminating, in your personal history of ruminating, I want you to think about all the solutions that you have come up with. Just go ahead and name them on a 1 to 10 lifetime basis, on a 1 to 10. Okay? When you ruminated about how someone did this to you, that removed the suffering how many times in your life? Especially late night, like 3 in the morning when you wake up, and you start thinking about it, and you exhausted yourself back to sleep in the morning when you wake up. You were like, that is a good thing. Right, that I woke up, right? and I thought this through, and yep, it was his fault or her fault, right? And then you were like, with peace, you woke up going, I'm glad I solved this one. So please raise your hand to that, and that is total acknowledgement that you are a master of emotions. You are a 10th level emotional ninja. Is that fair, Nora? Yes. I mean, she just may look like just an ordinary human being, but no. She gets like emotional bat signals. You know, she goes into action whenever she feels emotion. She's just like, I got this. Right? No ruminating.
No.
Right. That's why I say emotional ninja at level 10. Okay. Are we good? All right. Can you do this? Can you practice this? All right. Let's just do a couple minutes. Let's do it. Just a few minutes. Just want you to do. But you're probably wondering, well, wait a second. You already gave us a practice called mindfulness of breathing. Remember that? Breathing in, breathing out. So you're probably wondering, like, is this a second session now? Is this a third session? I mean, how are we going to integrate all of this? I bet you're wondering. And if you haven't, I bet you would be wondering soon enough. Is that right? And since you'll be teaching this, I suspect there'll be many people who are quiet and they're unconscious and they're afraid of you and they think that you are a daunting presence, and they probably won't even ask you. So they'll probably just wonder in their own quietude, right? Like going, how do I put this all together? Here's how. In a meditation session, what is the primary thing that you're going to be doing? Mindfulness of breathing. So you're just going to be breathing in and out as the primary experience. And then last week we said, well, sometimes there will be a sensation that arises, right? And then that would become your predominant, remember this? Your predominant experience. And so temporarily you would leave the breath and whatever's most predominant, the sensation, without the story, of course, because you remember that from last week, right? Just a sensation is a sensation. And then you give it all of your attention, and then when it passes, then what? Back to. So now we have a third one for you. You're sitting here just being a meditator, just breathing in and breathing out, and then an emotional state comes up. So basically we're starting to describe all possibilities while meditating. That's what we've done these last few weeks. And today is another one that we're adding in, like, hey, here's another predominant possibility. There could be an arising of an energy state or an emotional state. And then you may wonder, well, hey, I thought I was supposed to do what? Mindfully breathe. But how am I supposed to mindfully breathe when some anger flash happens or depression hits, right? So what do we do then, you guys? No, you do not name it. You already forgot this. How old are you? There's this thing, this acronym that you were supposed to have a mnemonic device when asked such a belabored question. How does it go? I forget. Please recognize, and then do we recognize immediately the mental state? No, we just recognize that there is something. I was breathing, all of a sudden I was like, there was a shift. Is that right? Okay, and then the second one was what? An allowance or an acceptance that this is there, and at that point we go into total rejection. We forget about it, and we go back to our breathing and clench our teeth. Just gonna fight my way through this, breathing in, breathing out. Because I feel an emotional state, and I don't like that. And when this is done, I'm definitely going to be drinking. Is that? Okay, that's insanity. Do you know anyone who tries to meditate like that? I'm just going to power my way through this. I'm going to just get through this no matter what, because I'm going to get to that peace no matter what at the end of the session like this. Okay? Because there is nothing better than grinding my teeth down and give myself meditative TMJ. Is that right? I'm making this sound so absurd that no one would actually what? Right? Nobody would actually do this? Andrew? No, just definitely not. Okay. We want your teeth intact. Yeah. We don't want any jaw misalignment, none of it. We just want you to be like, okay, so you're breathing in and out, and then all of a sudden an emotional flash hits you. You got that? So first thing, we recognize it. So that becomes the predominant state. So you move attention away from the breathing. You got that? And some people go like this, well, what if that is the predominant state for the rest of the session? And I was supposed to do what? Mindfulness of, no, you're not. You're supposed to be mindful. And all of these elements actually work together. So whatever's most predominant, that is our practice. Recognition, and then acceptance or allowance, and then naming it. Okay, so once you've recognized the state is present, and you've allowed it to be there, then you can name it. And then once you do, you can investigate it. What happens to what? My breath, and we just recognize and accept that. And then once we do, then what? Back to breathing, because that'll become the predominant state. How's that? Mindfulness made easy, elegant mindfulness. How's that? Easy to understand? Okay. All right, let's do a session. Brief session. So everything out of your hands upright, shoulders back, resting on the shoulder blades. Let's try to put all this into practice. Go ahead and tuck your chin in slightly. Eyes closed, elbows out away from the ribs, please, and not using the back of the chair if you're in a chair, unless you have a medical need to do so. Like no restriction on the breathing, please, if at all possible. If you have a medical need, no problem. Gently close the eyes. And let's begin by taking a few slow, long, deep, luxuriating breaths down to the abdomen. Breathing in, breathing out. And please make the intention to remain still in an observing mode of attention. Still like a mountain, as you recall from last week. At ease like a sleeping baby. And alert. Alert like a sentry. In a comfortable posture. Go ahead and turn the dimmer switch up on your mind if you're a little sleepy. Illuminate the mind, illuminate awareness, please. Go ahead and turn it all the way up. And before doing anything else, take a few moments, notice how you're feeling. The emotional state. Without naming it, but just feeling it. The emotional and energy state without naming. And there's always a mood that is present. Always, in every moment, there's always a mood. And I just want you to recognize just the feeling of the mood. Even if you didn't initially recognize it, it's there. And you want to know it because it colors everything that you do. It shades everything. It's like lighting. So how are you with this? There's what's happening. That's the how are you. Do you recognize it? You feel it? And then, how are you about how you are? I mean, is there an allowance or is there a judgment? How are you relating to the mood? And it's okay if there's judgments there, thoughts, ideas, reactions. I just want you to notice that. That's all. And it's okay that you have judgment, or that there is judgment, or a reaction or an idea. Just recognize it. Ideas, judgments. Everything here is okay. You cannot screw this up. Everything here is acceptable. And then if you do recognize how you're feeling, and maybe you don't, which is okay, but if you do recognize how you're feeling, reflect a little bit. How your feelings, how your emotional state, how might that influence how you relate, or you interpret, or react to this meditation session? How might the current mood influence or affect your relationship to this session? Reflect, please. So, for example, if you're sitting here and you're kind of grumpy, do you think you may be likely to interpret things in some averse way? And we're not blaming anyone for the grumpiness, not even blaming yourself. We're just saying grumpiness, grumpiness. And do you think that might influence your interpretation of this period? And if you're sitting here and you're kind of grumpy, and you're interpreting things maybe through a lens of aversion, or perhaps if you're discouraged, are you likely to carry a little bit of a burden or feeling a little hopeless about all of this? Like it's too much? So the question is there some way in which your mood or your emotional state could have an effect on this experience and perhaps prejudge you as you go forward in your mindfulness education? All right, now let's try this now. What to do about all of this? Let's see if we can take a few slow, long, deep breaths, please. Just as a way of beginning here. Into the body. And as you breathe in deeply, expand your rib cage in both the front and the back, please. Feel the shoulders gently lift and stretch a little bit, like you're giving yourself a little somatic massage by breathing deeply. And slow, long exhalations where you can relax a little bit and let go of these tense relationships. Taking a deep breath in and then relax as you exhale. And see if you can just compose yourself. Your attention, your presence around the experience of breathing. And it's okay if your mind wanders off in thought. You can relax the thinking mind and begin again. But primary instruction, just breathing in and breathing out. And if anything else predominates in your attention, simply recognize it and accept it. You can name it, investigate it, and then move back to mindfulness of breathing. And throughout a session, whenever you sit, if your mood or emotional state changes or goes away, just notice. And repeat. Repeat the emotional intimacy instructions. And this is what you're training to do in meditation. And some people, of course, compartmentalize or bifurcate this practice. And they somehow don't realize that by practicing, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what we'd like you to do off the cushion. Start to bring it into your life. Out of the blaming mode and into a mindfulness mode. And there's no such thing as mindful blaming. Total emotional responsibility. So let's just see just for a minute, very brief session this evening, if you can just hang out here for a minute and come back to your breathing after noticing what it is you're feeling. Please go through the stages one more time of emotional intimacy. Go through it all, and then come back to your breathing on your own, please. As you're going through this process, it could also be useful if you would turn the corners of your lips upwards slightly. You have a sense or acknowledgement that you know what you're doing, or at least you're enjoying the potential of investigation and the emotional elegance that comes with such an endeavor. And just another minute, please. There's a skill in leaving the session. Please bring your hands together and namaste, and then gently open the eyes, looking for what's called a mixing or a blending of your awareness into the post-meditation session. There's a continuation of awareness. Then gently bowing forward. And by this merit, may all obtain omniscience. And may it defeat the enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. Excellent. Now, I'd like to take a moment and invite you to, if you need to leave, I've kept you over by about 10 minutes, I think. So if you need to leave, but we would like to invite you. If you need to go, please do so. But we'll do Q&A right now and then make a few announcements. But it'll take a minute if you need to go. I understand, so got other obligations. And to have a very happy Thanksgiving. But if you're online or if you can stick around for maybe 10 more minutes or so, we'll do a little Q&A and a little housekeeping, okay? So thank you very much for your presence. Have a happy Thanksgiving. If you're traveling, safe travels, okay? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
You're always welcome. Yeah. Okay, now we will give the real instructions. We'll just wait for them to leave. Okay. Well, that was a good one, Liz. Let's go turn all this video stuff off so they can't watch this. All right. Yeah. Okay. Mindfulness of elitism. Okay. So Nicole, first we have a little housekeeping. Can you come up here, please? Okay. Because we have a whole community out there who's watching. Got a bunch of people. I think about 1,000 plus watching you online. So we'd like everybody to participate in this. Okay, so this is Nicole Cardenas. She's a member here in Sarasota. She's been helping run our retreats, and everyone who runs our retreats, we ask them to make a one-year commitment, and her one-year commitment is about to come to a head. So I'm going to pass the mic over. There you go. You can have a seat here temporarily.
The first thing that I'll make announcements about is we are having a retreat, a 10-day retreat coming up in December. It's from December 26th to January 4th. So there's more information about that. There's flyers on the table by the main entrance. Philip is going to be leading it. The cost is by donation. And if you want to sign up, you would contact Jenny Laws, to sign up. And if you need her email, you can ask me.
And it's online.
Yeah. And also, in order for that retreat to come together, we're looking for volunteers to help grocery shop and deliver the food to the center. We're looking for about 4 people, maybe a little more. And so if you can help with that, the sign-up sheet will be on the table by the main entrance, and you will be provided with a list of what groceries to buy in advance, and you will be reimbursed quickly with a check.
Did you ask, if you could say your email address out loud, because they're not here for that sign-up sheet? Is that okay?
Yeah, my email address is Nicole, Nicole, Cardenas, CARDENAS .counseling@gmail.com. So that's my email. And then also, since September, we've been looking for 2 people to serve as food coordinators. I'm not going to be able to continue serving for 2018. So if anybody's interested, please let me know. What's
entailed? How many hours are entailed with
that? It's more when a 30-day retreat is coming up or a 10-day retreat is coming up. It's very minimal for 3-day retreats. So I would say, if it's a 30-day retreat, maybe a few hours a week, but on a regular basis, you're not doing too much. And I can send you, I can send anybody a description of what's involved if anybody's interested. Yeah, and we are going to need a helper in local. I've asked the Colorado community, but we are going to need somebody local to help out as well, because with posting information and making announcements and things like that. So just wanted everybody to keep all that in mind. Let me know if you have any questions.
And we do need help, so please let Nicole know. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, so back to the meditation and questions that you may have. Thank you very much. Okay, so internet land and here, questions about the meditation or practice in general so far, readings, anything we can assist with. If you are doing the teacher training, we do have meditation instructors for everybody. At this, so far, I think we have 1 person we're still looking for an MI. But if you would like that, simply let us know, and we will get you a meditation instructor. There is no fee for any of this. Okay, that is if you were taking the teacher training. If you're just auditing, then we don't have an MI for you. But if you're doing the training, then we do. Okay, so questions, thoughts, Joellen?
About the quizzes or the tests, are they up and running yet?
I believe that we have them done. I believe that they're online as of today. Did anybody see those?
Yes.
They are. They're up online.
The quizzes they have been
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we have them done now for the first 2 classes. So you go online, they are multiple choice. So there are quizzes for each class. There are 10 questions. They're multiple choice. If you don't do well, you can take it again up to unlimited amount of times until you do well, okay? So we have not made it terribly not made it terribly difficult, but I'd say, go through them. If you're doing the teacher training, that is how you become a teacher in our community. You have to finish each module, and you have to pass each module. At the end of each class, there is a 10-question quiz, and at the end of each module, there is a longer, I think, 30-question test that you take. And they include meditation, the different meditations that you have that are there, so that when you become a teacher, if you become a teacher one day, that you will have all of these guided meditations under your belt, and they will be there for you to utilize. Okay, so we're giving you maximum assistance in every possible way. Yeah.
I also wanted to say that the notes from last week should be up, and I will try to get them out.
Yeah.
Because in the
Well, we don't know we don't know exactly who's doing the class notes, so I appreciate you saying that anonymously. We don't know who's doing that anonymously, so there are class notes for for every class. we like people to have no credit in our community for anything that we do. We want you to just walk without any footprint or recognition or anything like that. That is our primary way of. So thank you for that. Joellen was simply stating the possibility that she knows someone who's making these class notes. Okay, so thank you for not doing that, Joellen. All right. So anyway, love you. But in the future, if you do want to help us, just please recognize that you don't get a plaque on a retreat cabin, or if you help out in some way, we don't do name recognition. There's a reason for that. So I hope that you are aware. I hope that you can gather. This is unlike any other community that you may have been involved with in terms of religion. We just no names on buildings, no nothing at all. So what do you get out of all this? If you help us, yeah, you get all kinds of good stuff. But just no one will know who you are. That's all. So okay. What else? Yes. Question out in internet land.
Joelle. Are you going to put the notes up for the guidance for week 3? I did not see them today.
There will be notes up for week 3, yes, and each class. So when we're done with the class, we'll put up the notes. Okay.
I mean the assignment, I should say.
Yeah, the assignment will be up. I'll get it out to the person who does that, who does not have a name either, and then she will upload that as soon as possible. This week may be a couple days behind because it's Thanksgiving, so just be a little be patient with that, please. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
In the prayers and aspirations handout you gave us last week, there's the mindfulness of eating prayer.
Yes.
I love it and wanted to share it with my family, like at Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. You feel free to disseminate anything that we do. We want you to.
Well, I wondered if you could like to say something about. We haven't really talked about that one.
The mindfulness of eating.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a special, probably a special practice. That's going to be a whole class. Yeah, but we do have previous videos on that. So if you want to go into our online video site, if you have access, if you don't have access to that, the young lady is right here who uploads all that. Okay, and so yeah, would love to have you help your family, but that's a big practice as it turns out. So it obviously consumes much of everyone's time eating and the preparation for eating and then defecating. All of this goes together, believe it or not. And but it does take up a considerable portion of your life, and I want to give it the justice and not just glide over it casually. Okay? All right. So what else? Internet land? Anybody? A lot of people out there. Just hit the mute button if you have any questions. I can hear you. Go ahead. Who is this?
Analia.
Hi, Analia. Go ahead.
Question about investigation. Can you hear me?
You're really coming in. For some reason, it is echoey, so I can't make out what.
I'm in a monastery, so my reception here is pretty bad.
Okay. It's still hard to hear you, though. You maybe want to email me that question, okay?
I'm in a monastery in the middle of the woods.
Doesn't matter to me. You're still going to need to email me, okay? Yeah, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. So let's just not try. Got a lot of people watching. So if you can email me, I'll be happy to respond to you. Okay, thank you. Right.
You got it.
Thanks. Anything else?
A comment?
Comment, sure.
I found it very difficult to smile while recalling an unpleasant.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah.
Extra credit. I told you I was going to give you something when they left. Okay, so you ready? Write this down. All right, I'll show you something interesting. All right, for extra credit. Want to see something really beautiful in all of this? Remember that comment I said that you can be at ease with unease?
Yes.
Now, Lynn is commenting on that. It's like, and when these things are present, how am I going to smile? Okay? Now, the first thing that we talked about is that you are not the owner of an emotional state, nor are you an emotional state. So my question for you to explore is a homework bonus question. All right, if you get this is going to be the answer to almost all of your problems in life. So you might want to write this one down. And with it, you also get from 1999 a sham wow, which you can clean up any emotional mess that you make after this, if you miss this. Okay? So here we go. the state that is aware, okay, this is what I want you to consider and to contemplate and then meditate on this. When you are aware, okay, that there are these emotional states present, like depression or anger, okay? Now, the question is, that state of awareness, what does it feel like? Not the destructive emotion. We got that one, right? The question is, what is the awareness that's recognizing that state? What is it like? Okay? Now, I alluded to that in the meditation, but I didn't spell it out specifically. But I did allude to it in our brief meditation tonight. But my question to you as an extra bonus homework assignment, as a serious practitioner or someone who's really getting into this, the awareness that recognizes whatever it is that's present, including an energy state like restlessness, the awareness, what does it feel like? What does it feel like? I know we got the anger, we got the depression part down. We went through all of that, right? The physiological expression and the emotional expression of these states. But the question I have for you, the awareness that recognizes that, which is always there. It's always, this is a whole new frontier for you, okay? This is a beautiful world that we're entering into. The awareness that recognizes these states, what does it feel like? Not what is it like. Don't think about it intellectually. My question to you is, what does that feel like? Because that's always available to you. You get that? And I want you to know the answer to that. Okay? I understand that there's anger. Now, how do you know, how am I going to, is there anything that I've ever experienced like this? And the answer is yes. You've all experienced this. We all have. Here's what it is that you've experienced. Do you remember those times, maybe even today, when you got mad, you got upset, and you kept it internally? You actually maybe even said to yourself, come on, get a grip. Don't say this, because you knew internally that if you were with this emotional state, that if you were to let it out, which isn't repression, but you knew it was there, but if you were to let it out and say something, say what was on your mind, that you would probably poison the atmosphere or the relationship or the environment even further. And you knew better that it's just not in your interest or anyone else's interest to react with this. Do you guys know everyone here knows what I'm talking about? And do you remember how, like, when you kept it together and you didn't react, do you remember any time in your life where you went like this? That was smart. Like, you internally knew, like, that was a good idea. So, Lynn, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's the smile that you're asking about. It's mastering this particular thing, that you recognize there's an emotional state there, it's there, and it's like, this is the same thing. It's exactly the same, where you're like going, you're actually, this is this emotional ninja thing, level 10, that I was describing. It's like going, you have mastery now. You're getting this, and the absolute joy. What we call otherworldly joy. Because there's two kinds of joys, right? There's the joy of sense faculty joy, where you get what you want, all your desires, you get the new iPhone 11 or whatever it is. And then there's this kind of joy in which you are composed with regard to mental states, emotional states, where you're like going, This stuff used to drag me down. I used to spend, not today, of course, but I used to spend hours of every day trapped in emotions that I did not plan on having. And I didn't even know what to do with them, and I reacted and I blamed other people. Do you know what the smile is like when you're not doing that anymore, where you're just like, and I mean all the time, where you're just like, yep, events don't make me mad. People don't make me mad. I don't make me mad. I can just watch this stuff. What's that? You see that smile you have on your face right now? That's what I want everyone here, just a little practice with this, like going, I'm free. See, we talked about freedom. Freedom from suffering. Now, what kind of, is this freedom? You better believe it is. This is pretty cool, actually. Now, how much does it cost? Now, with the ShamWow, after you get to clean up your emotional mess, right? But we don't even want you to spend that money, right? I mean, it is just like, this could have been a cool thing for you your whole life, couldn't it? Now, you're going to be alive statistically, ladies, to about 80, right? Men, 78. So knowing how many years statistically you have in front of you, is this a valuable tool in your repertoire of awareness? The question I have for you is, what does awareness feel like that recognizes any state, even joy? What is it like, even when there's joy, sense faculty joy, like you did get the new iPad and a box of Godiva chocolates, okay? You got everything, but what is the awareness like that recognizes that? I just want to know, what does awareness feel like? The awareness that recognizes other emotional states. What is it like? That's a homework question, okay? You don't need to answer that right now. But when you feel that, go like this. And that is very similar to an experience that you all know too well, which is like that freedom that you had from not reacting, that you knew that if you did, it would only make things worse. Right? Okay. So anything else? Last question out there? Anybody? No. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. Happy Thanksgiving. I look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll go from there. So week 3 is complete. Week 4 for next week. And not sure exactly what we're going to do. I'll think of something. Okay? Be well. Thank you.